What's going on? This is Kex Next, and today I'm going to show you how you can create a really nice looking mountain scene inside of Element 3D in After Effects. So let's take a look at what we're going to create. Awesome. So before we start, we got to download our models. So to do that, you just want to go to the internet and search turbosquid. Turbosquid.com is where you can get some really good models, but most of them cost a lot of money, and some people may not have money. So let's go find some great free models. So you want to search landscape on turbosquid, and where it says price, you want to click that and just type in 0 and 0 and hit apply. And this is like the flea market section of turbosquid. You know, you're not going to have a lot of great things, but here and there you may find some hidden gems, you know. So the one that I really like is right here. This is the one that I used, I think. Yeah. I'll put a link in the description. You just gotta go there and download it. Free download. Really nice mountain. And you just want to put that in your models folder for Element 3D. Anyway, so once you got that, create a new composition in After Effects, 1920 by 1080. Looks good, hit OK. And first thing we're going to do is create a new solid. I'm going to do that by hitting Command Y or Control Y on Windows. Or you can just, right click down there and hit New Solid. But I'm going to do this. And we're going to name this E3D. And hit OK. Also, because we want to separate this from other layers, I don't know, I think it looks good. If we click this little red box down here and make it like a green color, it like separates it from the rest of our layers. And it makes it just, makes it stand out. Anyway, so once we got that, we want to go up into the effect controls, and you want to right click, go on a video copilot, and hit element. And when it pops up, you want to hit scene setup, and it'll pop right up there. Now we have this grid, maybe turn off draft textures. Yeah. So anyways, wherever you put your model, you want to find it in the folders. I have mine located in my models folder, and it's right here. And you want to hit load material and hit OK. And as you may notice, there's a couple problems. The main problem being that it's massive and too big for our scenes, so we can just hit the model right here and hit normalized size, and that'll make it a lot smaller. May want to turn that up a little bit. Yeah. Another thing we might want to do is go to surface options in the model and hit optimize mesh. I'll make it run a little bit faster, reduce the amount of vertices and faces. And now we want to put on a texture, because right now it's just completely white, and we don't want that. We want some terrain, So twirl that little arrow down, go to the material, and go to where it says diffuse. And this particular model should have came with a texture, so locate that wherever you have it saved. I think I have it saved in my models folder with my model. Yeah. And if this warning pops up, it means that your texture is a little too big. I mean, it'll still import, it's just really big, and the maximum texture size that Element 3D can import is 8K or whatever that resolution is. It's square. It's 8192 by 8192. But that's okay. I'm pretty sure we don't need a texture that big. So I just hit OK and hit OK, and our texture pops up right here, and it looks pretty nice. We can zoom in, see some of those fine details. So that's pretty cool. Maybe turn on the environment, see what it looks like. And it looks like my texture is a little too shiny. So we can turn that down by hitting the material and going into the basic settings and just kind of turning that glossiness down. Maybe to like 30%. Make it look a little bit more like land instead of, like a glass, And another thing we can do is go into the presets and go to environment. And where it says basic 2K, you want to click that. And you want to find a really nice looking outdoor environment. So I turn this on, you can see my environment right now is just black and white room. And we don't want that, so we're going to do another one somewhere down here. So maybe I think basic 2K might look pretty good. You can kind of see how that changed. You have the environment in the background now. And if I turn the environment off, you can kind of see like the colors changing in the model, which is just, it's really nice. Really nice little option to have. I think I'm going to use number 15 because it has that very nice blue sky. And another thing we might want to do is go to where it says single light over here and change this to another lighting option. And you can just, experiment around with these lights. I personally think that sunset looks pretty good. So, but you can do your own little thing. I know, like, some of these other ones might be good for what you're trying to use it for. Maybe, like, underwater might be good for, like, a night scene or aqua or something like that. Maybe just, like, dim it down or something. Yeah, just do whatever you want. I'm going to use sunset, though. So anyways, once we have our model set up, we're going to hit OK. And it'll pop right up in just a second. And I'm going to set my resolution to half and set my element 3D settings where it says render mode, set that to preview. And that'll make our computer will render the whatever's in the viewport a lot faster. So first thing we want to do is create a new camera. So right click down here, new, and select camera. And I think 35mm would be a pretty good little preset that you can do, and hit OK. And we want to find a good angle for this mountain. Oh, I forgot to mention the other thing you want to do is make sure this camera is a 2-node camera so you can orbit around your model. I mean, if you want to use a 1-node camera and you're experienced with these, by all means use a 1-node camera, but I personally like the 2-node camera because you can orbit around your model a lot easier. So once you have that selected, just hit OK. And you want to hit C on the keyboard to bring up the camera tool. And if you have a 3-button mouse, use the unified camera tool, but if you have like an Apple Magic Mouse or a 1-button mouse, you can just keep pressing C to cycle through the different camera movement modes. I don't know how to explain that better, but I have a 3-button mouse personally, so I'm going to use the unified camera tool. And you just want to orbit around your model. You'll find a really nice looking angle. But before we really start experimenting with the camera angles, we want to go to the element 3D layer, go to the render settings, and go to the lighting. And we want to put on our sunset lighting. So where it says add lighting, turn this to sunset. And you can see that our lighting is all set up. But right now, I'm just finding a nice camera angle to suit our scene. And you don't want to be very close to the edge, because if you do that, people will be like, oh, you're just a 3D modeler. When you want them to be like, oh, nice photography, and then you could be all like, no, I made this in a computer, yo. I don't know. Anyways, so find a nice camera angle. I think one that is over here might be pretty good because you kind of see some shade, but also the sun kind of shining on the mountains over here. I think it may be a pretty good little setup, if you catch my drift. I don't know what drift I'm throwing, but you better catch it. Anyway, so once we got that, we really just want to set up the background and some fog. So to do that, we want to create another new solid with Command Y and Control Y on Windows. Just Command Y on Mac, just Control Y on Windows. I didn't mean to, say and. That would suck if that was the shortcut. Anyway, so once this pulls up, 1920 by 1080p, make comp size, and the black color, you want to change this to white and hit OK. And you want to put this under your E3D solid, and you want to click it, go to the effect controls, right click, go down to color correction, and apply tint. And now you will go to your E3D settings, go to the fog, enable it, and you'll just have some fog there. But you want to alt click, so hold down alt and click on the stopwatch for fog color, and this little thing will come up down here where it says fog color, and you want to take this little swirly button right here, the pick whip. I think that's what it's called. Actually, do nothing with that yet. Twirl down the little arrow for your white solid. Go to the effects. Go to tint. Now, scroll back up. Take the pick whip and connect it to your map white to option. And just click out of that. And you can, twirl these arrows back up. And so now, the color of the fog in your scene will match whatever you turn the color of the background to. So if we go down to our white solid, we can change this to, or maybe a red color, and our fog will perfectly match. So personally, I think like a kind of desaturated, darkish kind of teal color might be a good color for fog. Kind of very, very desaturated, though. We want it to be very gray, but have a little bit of that tealish color in there, or light blue, And just hit OK. And go to your E3D and your fog options. And turn the opacity up to 100. Or maybe like 95, something like that. Really, really high up, though. We don't want it to be 50. You want to change the fog start distance to be a little bit farther out. And you want to turn the fog range down. So, really just... You want to kind of blur out those back mountains, if that makes any sense. Yeah, you just want to create some nice looking fog. Maybe experiment, and once you're done with that, experiment around with some camera angles. Really maybe bring this down just a bit. When you go to turbosquid.com and you download a new model, most of the time in the free section, your textures are going to be like 480p resolution. I mean, they're probably not that low, but they're going to be pretty low. And a nice way to fool the audience into thinking that your textures are actually pretty good is going to the camera and just blurring out the textures that are close to the camera. So we can use a depth of field. So we can hit A twice to get to the camera options on the camera. And turn on depth of field. And immediately we'll see some blur. Our camera is not focused on what we want it to focus on. So we're going to take the focus distance and just maybe turn it down a bit. We want a nice focus. A little too much there. Maybe some mountains over there. And we want to turn the aperture up. Maybe like 35. That was way too much. I'm just doing that so I can kind of see what the camera's focusing on. Don't do 35 aperture. That is crazy. I have my aperture turned up to 358. Not sure why, but I did. 35 aperture might be just fine for you. I take back what I said. I must have made some mistake when pressing enter. I don't know how that could happen, but I did. Yeah, we're just experimenting around with the aperture, the blur settings, and the focus distance that you need. Maybe like 45 aperture and then like 85% blur. Maybe 50. Like 50% blur. Yeah. But this is looking pretty good. With our E3D, though, we want to go back to that layer. And we want to go down to ambient occlusion in the render settings and enable it, and maybe turn it up a little bit, maybe like to 5. Just put some shadows or shading in there. Maybe turn it down just a little bit, maybe like 3.5 might be a good amount. Yeah. And again, you can change the color of this. I don't know why you would want to. That's just kind of showing you what it's doing. That's all the ambient occlusion that's adding. Maybe if you're doing something a little bit more creative than what we're doing here, maybe you can change the color of it, but for the landscape, maybe just keep it black. Make it some shadows. With the physical environment, we may want that to be a little bit brighter, so maybe turn up the exposure just a bit. Just a little bit. And twirl that arrow up so you can get rid of that, and go down to your output. And then the multi-pass mixture. Oh my gosh, I would have said Monday right there, but it's a Saturday. Whew. Anyways, so go down to multipass mixer and output, and where it says diffuse, maybe crank that up a little bit. make the highlights or the bright areas, not the highlights, the bright areas a little bit brighter. So we can kind of see the lighting on it. And, it's the sun that's shining this light. So we really want those bright areas to be pretty bright. And then where it says specular, you can turn that up to make the really bright areas even brighter, which I think looks pretty nice. Maybe turn that to like 15. Yeah. This is looking really nice. Okay, so this is looking pretty nice, but we want to add some movement in our scene. So twirl up the camera, twirl it back down, go to the transform settings, and we want to add some camera movement. So click keyframe, point of interest, and position, and move forward maybe 5 seconds in the timeline, maybe 4 seconds. And you just want to drag your camera over. And if you want to preview what that looks like, I'm going to speed through this really quick because my computer's taking too long. I don't want to make you sit through it. Okay, here's our shot. Looks pretty nice. We got some movement in there, make it look some 3D. Makes it kind of look like a drone shot or something. But the colors in this scene are just blah. They're barf. They're so nasty. It's like mostly grays. But that's okay because we're going to color grade this. So to do that, we're going to take your comp. I don't know what your comp's name was. It may be comp 1 or it may be another comp. Mine specifically is comp 8. So anyway, take your comp, right click and hit reveal composition and project, and it should highlight it over here. And you want to take it and drag it into this little comp button right here. And it'll put our comp into a new composition. First thing you want to do is add like an anamorphic aspect ratio to it. You don't have to do this, but me personally, I like it. Makes it look like it was an actual movie or something. So to do that, we're going to add a solid, Command Y, and we're going to change the height. Make sure this lock is not checked. Uncheck that if it is. Change height to 813. Keep in mind that this is only if you're on 1920 by 1080. If you're on a lower resolution, to get the 2.36 aspect ratio, I don't know. You're just going to have to experiment around with some stuff. But make sure the color is black as well. Yeah. And just hit OK. And now you want to create another solid with Command Y. Make this one, make it comp size, put it back to normal, and hit OK. And you want to drag the comp you just created under the last one. Then you want to go to your bottom comp, toggle switches and modes, hit that if your track mats aren't up, and change the track mat to alpha inverted matte. And that'll give you some nice black bars on your footage. If you don't have the exact area that you wanted within the black bars, you can hit P on the keyboard and drag the Y value of your mountain comp down. Get some fog in there or get whatever you wanted in there. I kind of don't like my depth of field, so maybe get rid of some of that. And that looks pretty nice. But now we want to focus on color grading this scene. So go to comp 8. And where it says Effect Controls, you want to right-click in there and go to Color Correction. And this is where you're just going to play around with all these settings until you get something that looks like it came straight from Hollywood, So what you want to do, you want to go to Color Correction, and you want to go to Curves. And this is a good effect to start with. Maybe brighten it up just a little bit, add some contrast in there. I don't know why it took me to the red value, but I do not want that. Add some contrast with that RGB curve maybe. Yeah. And you want to go to each individual color in this list and just play with the colors. Maybe like that sort of add some red to those highlights, but some green to the shadows. This is just where you play around with every little thing in the scene, every little color. You want to personalize it till you have it just right. Anyway, so the next effect after that will be brightness and contrast. So add that in and play with these just a little bit. Maybe just do a little bit of brightness. So 15 is a pretty good amount. And you also want to add some contrast in there. So I'm going to make this like a 38. And then the next effect, you want to go to color correction. And you want to go to levels. And you want to play around with these settings. So the input black, mess around with some of that stuff. Maybe turn this up just a little bit. Maybe like 3.5. And then the input white, just play around with that. The gamma, I may keep those the same value. The output black or the output white, those are some good things to play around with. Make the fog a little bit brighter. Maybe like 260. Alright, then you want to add a color correction, and then you want to go down into where it says shadows and highlights. And if you have auto amount selected, it'll give you this really gross color, and it's just trying to like give you everything that's in the scene, all the information. And we don't want that. It doesn't look very good. So just uncheck that box and turn down the shadows so that's at 0. And if I turn that off, should kind of making it brighter. And then the highlight amount just gets rid of some of the fog that we took away with our levels effect. So if you want to add some of that fog back in, maybe set this to like 20. That might be a good value. Or the shadow amount, you can change that up just a tad. Maybe brighten up the mountains right next to the camera. And another thing you might want to do is you want to get those values over there to be pretty nice and bright. So maybe add a stylize and then glow. And you just want to add this really subtle glow over to the entire image. So you want to turn the threshold up so it's really just like the mountains. Turn the radius up, and then the intensity to like 0.2. Maybe like 0.09. You kind of see what that's doing. It's just adding like the subtle glow, making the bright parts even brighter. Making the glow a little bit thicker. And if we RAM preview this, you can see these really nice colors just popping out of this scene. You can see how we went from this to this. I think I actually spent a little bit more time on my colors. Maybe add some purple colors in there. Yeah, I played around with the curves a little bit more. The levels. Yeah, you can really just get in there and just do whatever you want, you know? Maybe go to like the blue channel and just, I don't know, do whatever you want. But that's the main idea of the effect. If you enjoyed this video, thank you so much. Please press that subscribe button if you like me and my content. Please press that like button if you liked the video. Please leave a comment down below if you want to see something else, or if you have any questions about this tutorial. My name's KexNext, and I will see you next time.